Hello everybody, and welcome back to HiveSwap Friendsim. Today, we will be doing Volume 4 of Right and Wronged. Fresh from your most recent bout of gratuitous bodily injury and touching on scenes of camaraderie, you soldier on. You've had a couple of setbacks and made a couple of silly choices. Boy, do things just keep happening. But let nobody say that you, the main character, are incapable of growth and change. You have made sure not to be caught in the wilderness near dawn again. You have made your way back to civilization. You can't wait to discover what new adventures await you. Adventures like friendship. Let's start out. Well, we've got Tagora Gorjek and Vikare Ratite. Let's do Vikare. Or Vicar. I don't know. Let's go with Vicar. Like a church vicar. It's probably best for you to stop trying to predict what's going to happen to you at this point. Everything that's happened so far on this planet has been kind of chaotic. In fact, you're ready for something more familiar. You head back to the site of your abandoned spaceship. Sure, it's smashed beyond repair, but it's a little slice of home. Maybe at least one or two pieces of it are fixable. It looks pretty wrecked. You march off in what you think is the right direction. But when you get there, you're not alone. A tall guy in a hat and big goggles is standing there. Ooh, a little guy, gazing at your spaceship, maybe assessing it? As you watch, he breaks off a couple gears and stuffs them in his pocket. Hey, don't steal my spaceship. You clear your throat loudly. Oh, good galloping gravy. Why, I've never seen the likes of you before. What strange wonders the heavens have rained down upon us today. Oh, you're adorable. You quickly lose any indignation you were building up. He's smiling at you, and his words seem at least somewhat amicable. Maybe you got this all wrong. Maybe this is the next person you're gonna get chummy with. I think our new friend is here. You cut right to the chase. No point in beating around the ground leaf covering. That's probably what they call it on this planet. Bush ground leaf covering. What's Hauser volume? Yeah, we're fine. You let this guy know you're the proprietor of the spaceship he's stripping, and you're in mighty need of a new friend. A friend, eh? A bosom companion, a pal about town? I've seen nary a ton and Dickus or Harry around these parts who might fit the bill. You're kinda trying to imply that this guy could be your friend? Is it too late to say that now? You try to imply it with your eyebrows. You waggle my eyebrows. As for me, day-to-day matters here on Alternia interest me not. For I only care about hurtling at great speeds through the boundless expanse of the cosmos. I like you! That's right, space! It is space flight that consumes my every waking thought and all my ardor. And in accordance with my duty as a future Alternian Crusader, of course. No oxygen, no wind, a total vacuum. That is the life for me, all right. Flying in space, above the atmosphere. Not within the realm of gravity's purview. Wouldn't have it any other way. He really likes space, I guess. Right. You get the feeling you're missing something. This guy seems really defensive about his interest in spaceflight. Like maybe he's trying to say something totally different? Really, are you, Vicar? Whatever it is, his internal conflict clearly takes precedence over your issues. He seems like a great candidate for a friend, despite the fact that his voice sounds like it belongs over a newsreel about World War II. I have just one query for you, sport, if I may be so bold. Do you also like space flight? Do you yearn to see the moon shining above the clouds whipping by as you chase and tease the impish western wind? And then also keeping past going up that into space? I love space flight, but I don't know about you. I'll tell you, I do love spaceflight. I do it every day. Well then, we are in total agreement. Two kindred souls traveling hand in hand into a glorious yet inevitable future of conscripted service in space. Which is, as I've already made it very clear, a thing I most definitely and positively desire. So it seems we have nothing more to discuss. Toodaloo! That was fast. Okay. Okay, Vicar. Maybe you don't like space so much. I'm not so sure about spaceflight, you know. Last time I went flying, I crashed here and it didn't go so well. Then I met our Dada, which also didn't go so well. His eyes widen. You see them sparkle? How can I see his eyes from behind his goggles?
Ah, I see. You're an individual with a more sophisticated palate. A real connoisseur of the buoyant arts, you are. Someone like you could never be satisfied with the anemic affair of traveling through the inky blackness of the galaxies. I believe a jaunt to my hive is in order. Let's get a wiggle on.
There was a lot going on there, but you understand that he wants you to follow him. Okay, Vicar. Oh, I like your house. The friendly guy takes you to a building where all the rooms should be balanced on spindly-looking stilts. The hive soars above you onto the sky. He gestures to a little platform attached to a pulley system, like a rudimentary elevator. It brings you up into a small, dark room. His house is pretty much what you would have guessed. The walls are covered in star maps and pictures of spaceships. Yeah, I like your crib. I want to live here. You notice that many of them have very cheery slogans splashed across them, saying things like, explore the galaxies because you're required to fulfill your duty to society, and enlist, travel, make friends, don't get cold. Your new friend doesn't seem too happy as he looks around the place.
Just the hive for a dedicated spacecraft enthusiast, isn't it?
You nod. Yeah, if you're willing to lend me or your hive, I could work with this. You're not sure what this is leading to, but no one ever went wrong relying on non-specific and plausibly deniable agreement.
Who am I fooling? You've rumbled me, potential new chum. What you see before you is a collage of falsehoods. I'm nothing but an avatar of baloney. In truth, the myriad temptations and desires of space do nothing to tickle my biscuit. The thought of participating in the glorious eternal conquest gives me the screaming memes. My interest lies in something a little lower down.
What, like ocean? The ocean? He reaches up and peels back one of the posters. Behind it is another poster, this one showing a view of clouds in the night sky.
Behold my shame! The truth is, I long to toss and turn within the grasp of Mistress Gravity's sweet fingers. To traverse the sky! Can such a thing be? Imagine flying within the confines of Alternia's very atmosphere.
Bruh, you mean like a plane? I get it, you're an aviator. That's your whole shtick. You have the whole aviation chute and everything.
Defying the very conventions of what we all know to be true. Instead of down, up. Instead of falling, soaring. Can you imagine? Can you see it before you? Could you ever dream of the existence of such a flying machine?
You know,
he seems so enthusiastic, I don't want to break his heart.
I've never heard of anything like that before.
Ah, but the future is ours to build, my strange-hued and unformed comrade. What do you think? Does it excite you? Do my ideas rattle your buttons?
You can't help but notice that he's referred to you as a chum and a comrade, but friend hasn't made an appearance yet. Do synonyms count? Or is this just a tick of his speaking style? Because everyone has a tick. You look as earnest as you can and nod vigorously. You're almost positive this is a thing he really wants you to express interest in.
Aha! The truth will out! You and I share this furtive passion for the indulgences of the air. A dialogue between a troll, a flying machine, and the stars. But further away from the stars than we would be in a spaceship. I cannot stress enough how different of a thing this is.
Huh. Well, you can't really decide between nodding and shaking your head, so you furrow your brow and do your best to look thoughtful, like maybe you're contemplating the differences. Yeah, there's a huge difference, because one of them you have to go into the atmosphere and, gravity and such truck. Anyway, this fellow's demeanor towards you is definitely shading more to the temperate climate zones. However, certain physical needs are starting to assert themselves. You're still pretty banged up from your previous adventures, but right now, the aching of your stomach is screaming for attention. Yeah, you got any food, boo? You humbly ask your friend to be if there might be any chance of getting a bite to eat. Yes, I'm very hungry.
But of course! Why, if I'd known you had a rumbling in the old digestion bladder, I would have shut my yapper tooth sweet.
I have no idea anything you're saying. No clue. but I love it.
Time for a good old nosh. A yummaroonie. Whoa! Now, how should we attain the victuals? We could venture into the great unknown, which is to say, out of my hive. Or we could stay here, beholden to whatever twists and turns Lady Fate has in store for us in the nutrition block. What say you, new timer?
You don't seem to have any food here. Let's go out. Let's go out. Let's go out to dinner. As much as I love your pad, but you don't seem so sure there's any food. From your budding chum's word, it sounds like he himself isn't sure if there's any food in the house. Best to risk it and go outside. You tell him your decision.
Top choice, buckaroo. Foraging is how I while away most of my time, after all. There's just one small matter to trouble the old bright brain power. If we're venturing out into the unknown yonder, we should obtain some chow for my Lucis as well. He'll be a real grumpy Gustav if he goes too long without his nosh.
Okay, let's get your dad some food.
You draw yourself up proudly. It's taken a lot of bizarre run-ins and harrowing close shaves, but you know all about Lucises. Luci? You inquire about Gustav, was it?
Oh, what a card you are.
No, my Lucis. I call him the Canary.
He whips out a photo. It shows a smaller version of himself, his horns nothing but stubs, a far too big pair of aviator goggles slipping off of his nose. Standing behind him is a large white fowl, big scraggly wings folded back against his body. You kind of want to say an emu? Whatever it is, it's definitely not a canary. Its beak touches the top of your pal's head with something that might count as affection.
He's not a persnickety sort. All kinds of bugs and leaves will tickle his fancy. Shall we away? Shall we greet the horizon that rushes forward to meet us with astounding grace? Shall we give ourselves over to the current of time's great river?
Sure, you tell him. You can leave the house. It's getting a lot easier to pay attention to only the words this guy says that actually make sense. You know, like half of them. You kind of enjoy his way of speaking, though. If nothing else, it gives you the feeling that he's really excited about this food quest you're going on together. Let's go. Your alien pal leads you back down through the pulley system and outside again. The trip is not so easy on your bruised ribs. The thing about walking is, when you walk, your body moves. You've had better times, is all you're saying. You indicate as much as your companion.
Oh boy, I hear ya. Moving while attached to Eternia's surface is the worst kind of hooey. The moment when autonomous flight is invented trembles ever closer to the present. Can you hear it approach?
Yes, Vicar, yes, I can hear it approaching.
The wail of a distant klaxon, the call to adventure. It beckons us forward through the years, a golden thread stretching ever onward to that glorious inevitability.
Not exactly what you meant, but his excitement cheers you up a little. Maybe you'll feel better in the future when someone invents flight on this planet. Certainly by that time, either you'll be further along in your healing, or maybe dead. Either way, thinking about that future brings a little rosy glow to your heart. Aww. You ask your buddy where you're going next.
The world is our bivalvular sea
Critter, by which you mean the world is our oyster?
We'll go wherever the wind calls our names.
Great.
But if it's a short-term answer you're looking after, there's a specific plant the canary likes to eat. It's got white petals and leaves as red as a troll's most lurid desires.
What?
Could you give a holler if your bulbs fall on something of that persuasion?
Okay, look for a red-leafed flower. Okay, with white petals. I agree to keep an eye out. You continue trudging along beside him, wincing whenever your steps jolt your injuries. Maybe a little conversation will help distract you. You ask your new friend what got him so interested in flying in the first place.
What could be better? Up there, free of worldly concerns, the wind in your face and the horizon at your back. Seeing the continents spread out below you, finally feeling that your personal aesthetic is appropriate for the given circumstances.
The aviator thing. You chew over this one for a minute or two. It seems like what really makes this guy tick is the travel and adventure thing. Or maybe that's just what you're getting from his general demeanor and pretty much everything he's said up until now. You're nervous to bring up anything that might make him dislike you, but in the interest of bonding, you forge ahead. Aren't there, you say with apprehension, maybe some similarities between flying and space travel? Like maybe being in a spaceship could satisfy some of these urges?
What? There may be some superficial similarities to trick the common troll, but in essence the blood pusher and soul of each, as different as night and day, as a mountain and a ditch, a star and a mud puddle. Don't get a fellow wrong, space travel is fine. Well, it's the only way to satisfy our bloodthirsty and nearly immortal overlords. And I look forward to such a time when I can be of service in the eternal millstone grind of intergalactic conquest. But it's missing the punch, the pizzazz, the kaboom, the trunk beaks honk of it all.
What? I have no idea what you're saying, Vikare. Just as you'd feared, you've stepped in it now. You're struggling for a response when out of the corner of your eye you spot a cluster of white flowers. Relieved, you point them out to your companion, who races over to gather them. But when he holds one up, you can see it has blue leaves, not red. Your shoulders droop. Seems like all you're doing is disappointing your buddy, who's been so nice to you, or at least that's what you think you've read between the lines of his confusing speaking style. I'm not sure what's going on with Vikare.
Fear not, my smooth-headed compatriot. These are not the loosest rations we sought, but this plant is people chaff. What I mean to say is we can eat it. Since we're people, it's food for people, not food made of people. To be clear.
He comes back with a fistful of the flowers and hands you one of the blue leaves. You're not at all sure that food that's safe for your buddy will be safe for you as well. At this point, you don't have much to lose. Bottoms up! Besides, with the way that your stomach is groaning, it might as well be a perfectly seared steak. You put it in your mouth. Let's chew the plants. Nom nom nom. Nom nom nom. Chewing on the leaf, you feel even more affection towards this guy than before. Oh no, not again. You were worried that this trip was turning into an excuse for him to run some kind of household errand, but he really did find you something to eat. You're so desperate to find some way to show him that you understand his interests. You want to connect him on a deep, soulful level. Anything to get him to look at you with that treasured glow of friendship in his eyes. I think we might have an addiction problem. Whenever he mentions space travel, he talks about how it's something he has to do, some kind of necessary obligation. So maybe there's a reason he's fixated on an activity that is kind of similar but just a little different. Maybe he doesn't want to do the required thing, the space conquest, but doesn't have it in him to do it to rebel entirely all the way. Maybe airplane flight, or whatever similar thing he's envisioning, is a compromise between what he has to do and what he wants to do. A balance, like all must find, in order to live as an individual in a society that shapes one's desires from birth. Wow, that's deep. That's very deep. You cautiously open your mouth. Heart pounding, you venture to ask your pal if he maybe would not rather satisfy the demands of the bloodthirsty overlords? If maybe a part of him wants to get into his flying machine and maybe leave? For real? That's... Oh no, don't cry, baby, don't cry. He seems taken aback. Maybe you should never have said it. What a huge mistake. You probably pushed his friendship out of your reach for good now. Panicking, you point to the side, yelling that you see a big field of white flowers in that direction. Yeah, go get him, go pick him. Oh, he's happy again. Your potential friend leaps to action, seemingly also glad to be given a reason not to answer this question. He races forward in the direction you indicated. Oh no. Did he fall? In a matter of seconds, there's a yelp and your new acquaintance vanishes. Instantly, you realize your error. You didn't look where you were pointing. While walking, you unwittingly came close to the edge of a large cliff, which your companion has now disappeared over. You race to the side, your stomach flooding with fear. This is absolutely the opposite of what you wanted. You look down in horror. Your friend now looks approximately how you felt when your first crash landed on this dark planet. Oh god, is he dead? Nope, he's conscious. His face frozen in shock, but one leg is twisted underneath him in a nasty way. You may not be familiar with his alien anatomy, but you're almost positive that it shouldn't look like that. Yeah, he broke his legs. Oops. You call out to him in distress, sure he's going to castigate you for your mistake. The strangeness of his language won't make it hurt any less to lose this guy's trust forever.
What ho! Kaloo Kalay!
His voice floats up from the ground below, weak but somewhat jovial? Is it possible he's not angry?
Oh, joy is happening! Oh, delight for the body and spirit! Did you see? Did your being absorb what occurred before your very visage? I flew! Soared through the air, you fell. Just for a moment, but it happened. An ecstasy like none I've ever known.
Oh my god, Vicar! You hesitate. Oh boy, let's hesitate.
Space Rain.
Not sponsored. Is it really possible that he could be taking this so well? That maybe your big F-out was a step in the right direction after all? It's definitely a little worrying to hear him celebrate a dangerous fall, but none of that matters if he can secure his friendship at last.
My strange associate, come on down here. We will celebrate in grand fashion this eve. How did you know that a brief sojourn through unfettered air would bring me such joy? You're a fine fellow, and a truly superb friend.
Your heart lifts with joy. He said it! Of course, you now have to find some way to climb down a cliff with your messed up ribs, not to mention figuring out how to transport someone with a broken leg back to the house. You're not really sure if that's possible, or when the adrenaline that's got you this far will give out and force you to succumb to your own pain. Oops. But with a night full of difficulties ahead of you couldn't ask for a better balm than knowing you'll face them hand in hand with your friend. Assuming he didn't break his hands as well. No matter, you did it! Friendship! Hey, buddy! Oh god, look at him. His aviator glasses are cracked and his legs are jutting out at two completely opposite angles. But he's having a good time. He's having a good time as himself. Good job, Vicar.